Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome from Renningen today to our webinars, Building Trust Meets Connecting Strength. My name is Willem Haag. I'm together with Katharina David, the co-CEOs of K2 Systems, and next to me, I'm happy to
Yes, my
welcome.
name is Armin Neff. I'm the corporate product engineer for roof accessory, means all products beside the roofing membrane. And I have been working for Sika for 20 years now.
So we are happy and very glad that you are joining today so that we can show you our combined and holistic solutions when it comes to single ply roofs or bitumen roofs. And there we want to dive in the next, yeah, 45 minutes, 1 hour roughly together. First of all, we have out of the two groups, company, people that were constantly with K2 or constantly with Sika. So therefore, we also decided to present in the beginning shortly and giving a short introduction of the both companies so that we have a good understanding of what K2 and what Sika is doing. And then one short additional organizational information when it comes to the Q&A session, respective. When you have questions along this webinar, just feel free to use the Q&A button in the menu so that you can just place the question and we will answer this either directly when it fits to what we are showing you right now or throughout the webinar respective afterwards. So let's start with K2 Systems. We as K2 Systems, we are the mounting system manufacturer founded roughly 20 years ago and are supplying our solutions in the meantime more than 130 countries. We have locations in Europe, in the Americas, in Africa, South Africa, and we supply with our solutions now. In the meantime, with our mounting system, more than 36 gigawatts of PV installations have been realized. And with this, we are also very glad and happy that we can really push the energy transition forward in that way. We are working with many distribution partners in those different countries. Combined with our technical support, we can help on the different roof situations to realize the different projects, be it on buildings, either on the roofs or on the facades, but also on carports or ground mount installations are applications where we have solutions for. So at the same time, we invest a lot of our effort to really be sustainable, to have, and that's how we realized it. We produce 85% of the aluminium inside the European Union. By this, we have short distances, we have a high quality, and we enable fair standards. We are very glad and happy that we have achieved in the meantime a carbon footprint of 4.8 tons, which is significantly below the worldwide, the global average and the European average as well. On the other side, ESG commitment is strong inside K2, and we push this also in the different social projects that we are following and supporting. We are also supporting and are very active in solar associations. Plus, of course, we are fully committed and protect the environment. As K2, we provide a strong connection between the PV modules, the energy generation, so to say, and the building. We bring those two fields together and enable this with our mounting system. We connect people with a strong experience, with a strong know-how in partnerships to provide long-lasting and stable solutions. Our products, our mounting systems are developed for a fast and easy installation for all the different applications and combined with digital services to enable a strong planning as well. Here, especially our planning software, K2 Base, has to be mentioned as the planning software with which you can plan all the mounting systems for the buildings and the facade, including a structural approved, the structural approval of the system. Now, Armin, maybe you can continue with Sika.
Yes, it's a pleasure to shortly, briefly introduce Sika as a company. So Sika was founded 1910 and is now 115 years old. So Sika at a glance, then we are 34,000 employees in the meantime and are present in 103 countries with own Sika sales organization and have more than 400 factories worldwide. And also Sika is innovative. So last year we had 125 patents and 3 acquisitions, and the sales turnover is roughly 12 billion euros. So Sika is divided into 8 target markets. It's concrete, as probably everybody knows, the flooring, ceiling and bonding, refurbishment industry, interior construction, and roofing system, where we are in today then. So roofing systems, maybe a lot of you know that we have the Sarnafil brand, we have the Sika brand in the single ply, we have the Sika Shield brand for bituminous membranes, and the Sika Elastic for liquid applied membranes.
Building trust and meeting connecting strength is the basic of our cooperation, and there we provide Sika and K2 a holistic solution now on roof construction between the building itself and the energy generation. We have now a defined and perfectly coordinated solution which has a reliability and a tested system compatibility. We combine this also for project-specific support with the strong know-how in each of both companies to give you the expert know-how for each of your project in particular. So please feel free to reach out to either K2 or Sika, depending on the topic, whether it's about the roof or the mounting system, respective the racking. And here we bring the different solutions together. Now, what kind of solutions are we talking about? We talk about single ply or bitumen membrane roofs between 0 and 35 degrees roof pitch. There is up to 5 degrees the solution which we call in K2 the K2 Dome 6 Express or Classic solution, which is in Sika called the Solar Hybrid solution. There we have the connection to the SikaRoof Anchor with the fixed pro set. Then we have a solution which is starting from 10 degrees up to 35 degrees, which is then the K2 SingleRail IFP solution, or in Sika where it's the solar lifted parallel solution. There we have the modules parallel to the roof inclination installed. And then we have a solution which is in between, where we need an additional inclination to have a better energy production throughout the day, where we combine the dome solution with the SingleRail. And this is called the Dome 6 Lifted LS, respective the solar lifted peak solution, where we directly fix with the SingleRail system on top of the SikaRoof Anchor and put the dome components on top of it. So now Armin will present you the components and the roof structure in the first place.
Yes, as you know, Sika is a full system supplier then, so we supply a vapor control layer, thermal insulation, roofing membranes, fasteners, and all the material which is used for to build a flat roof system. So when you want to put some solar PV panels onto the roof then, so it's very crucial that the roof structure can bear the additional load which the PV panel brings. So in this case here, we start with a corrugated metal deck then, which is okay so far. Then we continue with the vapor control layer, vapor barrier. In this case, it's a self-adhered aluminum vapor barrier. We also have polyethylene vapor control layers in our portfolio and the bituminous vapor control layers. Then we continue with the thermal insulation. So we have PIR boards, EPS boards, mineral wool boards. So it depends on the requirements on the project side. Afterwards, we continue with the roofing membrane. So in this case here, we have a single ply roofing membrane. So single ply means we have PVC, plasticized PVC roofing membrane, or FPO, TPO membrane, which are based on polypropylene. Afterwards then, we have the anchor here with the washer, which here is already fixed, but the washer here I just show you in detail. The washer is a octagon shaped, 140 millimeter in diameter, and it comes with an M12 thread rod laser welded onto the base plate here. So the washer has 8 holes, 4 holes with diameter 7.2 and 4 holes with 20 millimeter. So it means the small holes you can use the full metal fastener, which is mainly used then when the compressive strength of the thermal insulation is given. Or on the other hand, when you have mineral wool thermal insulation, you use always the tube system, where if the washer sinks in a little bit, so the screw can play into the tube system. And onto the washer then. So if the washer is once installed here, we have our SikaRoof Anchor. This is the single ply version. It's 250 millimeter in diameter, and it also has a stainless steel part on it with an internal M12 thread on the top, and on the back side it's also an internal M12 thread. So this one, the SikaRoof Anchor, can then easily screwed onto the installed washer plate then, and then you weld all around it, and then it's basically installed. And of course then we also have this leveling set. So means if you have our hybrid roof system, you need to fix the fix pro set onto the base rail on the side. And we have PVC, FPO in single ply range, and we also have the various colors here from beige, window gray, white, and lead gray. And the same we also have in PVC. So it fits to the roofing membrane which is used then. And from the quality side, the roof anchor is injection molded, and it's made of the same material as the top layer of the roofing membrane. So it's fully UV stabilized and long-lasting product. From the bituminous side, the build-up then, so we have here a bituminous vapor control layer, also PIR, thermal insulation, and in this case here the washer, it's fixed with the metal tube system combined. And the washer plate is exactly the same as we use for the single ply, and the bituminous anchor, so it's in diameter, it's 400 millimeter. So it's a 2-layer system. The first layer is 300 and the top layer is 400 millimeter in diameter. So it means we can follow actually the same system as the 2-layer system we have anyway for the bituminous membranes. So we continue with a 2-layer system with the roof anchor system. So it's absolutely safe to assemble, to fix on the roof, and it's easy and fast to apply. This is more or less, what we have from the Sika side, and when it comes to ordering then, so Sika will supply all the parts then. So you need to get in contact with your local Sika sales rep.
This is especially helpful, I think, when clarifying also with the Sika sales rep like the roof construction and to clarify which components are needed. So continuing with the mounting system connecting to the SikaRoof Anchor. We start with coming from the lowest slope up to 5 degrees, where we connect or where we have the Dome
Yep.
6 Express or the Dome 6 Classic system. Here we have the Express version, where we have the P starting from the MED-S, which is like the connection, so to say, to the membrane, to the single ply. There you can see also we have a distance in between the single ply and the MED-S and the basic rail to also support the water flow. On the peak and the SD, the modules are installed. In this example, we have a 10 degrees inclination. The Express version is pre-sampled, which means the MED-S, the basic rail, the mid blade, and the SD are already pre-assembled. So the installation steps on the construction site are placing the base set, sliding in the peak, putting the module on top, and then adding the clamps, the module clamps for fixing of the module itself. And then the system is connected with the MK2 slot nut and an 8x20 screw in with the fixed pro set to connect then to the anchoring combined with our climber and the adapter blade. And this we will also later on have a closer look in particular how the installation will work out. Another way of installing, if we think about the higher pitch of the roofs, then we talk about the solution with the SingleRail system. And the SingleRail is then going to be installed also with the adapter blade and the climber, and is going to be slided in here. Of course, we also fix the adapter blade and the climber on top. And then we can either continue, depending on whether we have a solution up to 10 degrees or 10 degrees up to 35 degrees. If we are with the 10 degrees, then we combine it for the dome with the peak and the SD. So the dome lifted LS version, where we slide in the peak and then put the module on top to be able then to have this additional inclination on top of the roof. Or we go in roof parallel, so there we use the MK2 clamp to directly fix the modules in roof parallel. So now, as we have clarified all the different components, starting from the roof structure and the anchoring and the mounting system for the different applications, the planning is, of course, also very important. So now we jump over to the planning software K2Base, where we can do the planning directly for the Dome 6 Classic or Dome 6 Express version, which is in Sika, where it's the solar hybrid solution. So we have a look over here. As we have several participants today who are not using K2Base so far. When you come to our website, then you see here on the right edge this tiny person where you can click on, and then you come to My K2. There you can log in or register first. If you are not yet registered, you give your email address and your company details, and then you end up on this dashboard where you can directly start in K2Base the planning of the roof. Our software is in different languages available, more than 25 languages. So we have here now the possibility to start planning a new project. If you already did, for example, in PVSol or Helioscope, a project planning for the yield analysis, then you can also import project data from these programs into K2Base. So you have already the location, the module layout, and can continue planning the mounting system with that one. And if not, then you just instantly start with a new project. And we are today in the Industriestraße and are planning a project in Renningen, so close to where we are. And this is a typical logistic building where we have also obstacles on the roof. So we choose this location. As you can see, we are working in the software, which is free of charge, so you can use it for free with Google Maps. And yeah, then we just add this location to do the planning. Of course, the loads are calculated based on Eurocode and then depending on the national appendix of the different European countries. In this case, as we plan a project right now in Germany, it is showing the German wind and snow load map. We also have to define the failure consequence class and this design working life of the system. Plus, we have to choose the terrain category. For example, we are now in our case at suburbs, industrial commercial area. If you have any uncertainty what is meant with the different parts, then we can just easily click on those question marks and get additional information to it. When we jump now to the next field, which is the building, and then we choose the roof type where we want to do an installation and whether we want to do an installation on top of the roof or on the wall, because the facade solutions we can also plan here. But we are now on the roof, so we are choosing the roof, and we want to put there on a rectangle in a rectangle way on and we have a roofing material like single ply. So we add now here the field where we want to have modules installed. Also additional building characteristics like the building height. We add now additionally, we give the pitch of the roof. Additionally, we assume in this case 4 degrees. We add the parapet height and also a friction coefficient value we assume. Then we also have those obstacles on top of the roof where we add them by choosing here the field of obstacles. They are rectangle sized. I add one of them. And now I can also detect similar obstacles. Now you have seen all obstacles which look similar got detected. Of course, it not always works as perfect as in this case. So we have with this detection tolerance filter the option to either recognize more or less and then add the obstacles in addition. Now, as we have finished that part, we continue with the design of the PV installation. Here, we first of all have to choose which modules we are using, and then also which module type. After the manufacturer, also the module type. We have all different module manufacturers and module types included, so it should be also the latest modules typically included here. Then we continue by choosing which kind of system we want to use. So either we go with the D-dome solution, which is enabling us to have a double inclinated module, which means east-west typically oriented, to have throughout the day a balanced energy production, which is very common and mainly in use, or also the S-dome solution, which is just a single tilted and typically facing to the south directly. So in our example, we are now choosing the D-dome 6.10. We want to put this on the roof as an express solution so that we have already the pre-assembled parts, and then the module orientation is in landscape. So we add now by clicking with the left mouse click the module field on the roof and get now roughly 528 modules, respective 238 kilowatt peak of performance on the roof. The yellow lines represent thermal separation. We can also add additional separations if we want to have additional maintenance, space for maintenance or for fall-off protection systems. So this is something we can easily add here as required. When we then continue planning on the result page, we have a fixation, and here we choose the anchor SikaRoof Anchor. So now the system is automatically calculated with the anchoring. We see everything is in order. Also, the structural approval of the components concerning the pressure and suction loads that appear in this project in particular are considered and approved. We are now using a combined solution, which means we have it ballasted and fixed in combination. We can also replace the ballast completely and by switching here to all, and then we have it realized only with fixation. Additionally, we can also check the insulation. So if you know the insulation, then we please also enter here the value in Pascal, not in kilopascal, so that we can check whether the loads can be handled. So also in this case, we have everything in order, and the pressure on the insulation is using the forces of the insulation by 97%. When you have finished also this part, then we can go to the summary. So you have a completely planned system, including the SikaRoof anchoring and a structural approval of the system. So you can get here an overview of the bill of material, and now generate on the one side a PDF report of what we planned. This PDF report gives in detail all information of how the project was planned. We start here with the size, of course, of the installation, a visual presentation of the project, and then also for each block and module array in detail with the measurements from the edges of the roof or the distance to the next module array, how and where to place the whole installation. Also by this, you can directly find the location of the SikaRoof anchoring, where to place it. Typically, we need to place every 8 to 12 square meter, respective every 5th or 6th module, an anchoring. Also, when we scroll down, additionally, we get here a very detailed structural analysis report, which you can also forward to the structural engineers to verify whether the building and the load capacity of the building is capable to take the PV installation as it was shown or as it is planned in this case. And also here in the end, you see, of course, the bill of material again. Now, jumping back into K2 Base, you can also now continue with planning the inverters by transferring to those inverter manufacturers to their soft planning tools, so that you can continue there with the planning of the inverters. Or you can also continue with Archelius Pro to Solar or the other PV case planning tools to transfer to those tools where you can use the same already entered information like the location and the module layout to continue with the yield analysis of the PV installation. As well, you can transfer the project to one of our distribution partners, the bill of material, clarify the availability, and directly continue ordering the material for realizing the project. As you can see, we here just show the SikaRoof Anchor quantity, and this is a certain reason, which Armin is going to explain to you a little bit in detail. Right?
So actually, the reason is the system simply don't know which color or which roofing membrane is on the roof. Is it a PVC, is it an FPO, or is it bitumen then? And according to these needs on the job site, then you can actually contact then the sales rep in your sales on your country organization, Sika country organization, and then they can give you the right article code for the right color, for the right material, PVC, FPO, beige or whatever color of the SikaRoof Anchor, and also for the bituminous one. But the design load, it's for all the products is actually the same. And I think there was also a question in the chat then, what can be designed on K2?
So thank you for this handover, Armin. Yes, in K2 base, we currently are directly able to blend the roof application up to 5 degrees with the fixed pro set, and the Dome Classic, Dome 6 Classic or Dome 6 Express version, respective to solar hybrid solution, as in Sika we have spoken. All other projects, when we have 5 to 10 or 10 to 35 degrees, where we use either the Dome 6 lifted LS or the solar hybrid peak, respective the solar lifted peak, respective. Then if we are 10 to 35 degrees, the K2 SingleRail IFP or the solar lifted parallel system. Those two system types, just feel free to send it to service@k2systems.de, respective your direct contact at K2, and we do the planning for you. This is currently not yet included in K2 base. There was also, I think, one question about what would happen when we have 0 degrees.
Mm-hmm. So I think if we have 0 degree, we would use then the lifted system, actually the lifted system, so there is no conflict with any fastener.
Yeah, also
so
true.
As we always on the roof anchor and no fastening, which would disturb then the installation.
Yep.
And we also had the question what pull-out strengths the fastener can have then. So actually our SPF fastener, you know, has the ETA 006, and the design load per fastener also with the tube or just the metal fastener is 800 Newton per fastener. So it means if you use 4 fasteners, then you have 3.2 kilonewton per anchor wind uplift forces.
Yeah, fantastic. So now, as we have seen the different components and also done the planning in K2 base, we now step on and continue with the installation of, first of all, the SikaRoof Anchor, and afterwards the racking, the mounting system for fixing the PV modules.
So as you can see here, actually, if you have the layout drawing out of K2, then you need to mark the lines then where you want to exactly place the roof anchor, the washer plate. So in this case, we have the black line here, we have the cross, and then we put we have on this reinforcement here where you can exactly follow the black mark then, or you can also have the holes of the screws here on the marked line, and then you can actually set the screw. So this is a multi-purpose fastener, SPF 6.0, and you can use for metal decks, you can use for woods, and also for concrete, just one fastener. So the metal thickness starts from 0.6 millimeter. Drill. So you quite tighten it a bit so that it's really down a little bit into the thermal insulation. And then it's very simple. You screw on the roof anchor with this M12 internal threads. You just tighten it by hand, or if you use somehow a tool, then you need to have a 20 Newton force, more or less. Then you do the seam preparation, depends on the material you use. On PVC new, it's not needed. On FPO, you always do seam preparation. Then you also use Sanafil T-Prep, and with the clothes, you clean it. Afterwards, as usual, we have hot air welding. you always do pre-welds, so it's somehow 25 millimeters behind the edge then, and then you do the final welds outside, so you have the really double security also, and also the hot air will not somehow disappear behind then. So once it's done then, so usually an experienced roofer has installed such a roof anchor, including fixing the washer, roughly 6 to 7 minutes, completely finished. Afterwards, you do, as per application manual, you do the seam test with a screwdriver number 4 then, to check if everything is properly welded. Then the installation of the leveling set. This is needed then to install the
PV
Pro
mounting
set
system, yeah.
But we will show later.
So this is where we now have the connection starting between the mountings, between the Sika roof anchoring and the mounting system. So we again start with the first solution where we are having up to 5 degrees inclination. So this is again the K2 Dome 6 Express solution, respective the solar hybrid solution. So we have on the left and the right side, so to say, towards the Sika roof anchoring, the base rails positioned as you and are then connecting in this case with the MK2 slot nut.
Just click in.
With the MK2 slot nut, which we just slide in 90 degrees, and then with coming together with the fixed bro set, which is then directly positioned on top of the basic rail and connected with an 8 by 20 millimeter screw into the MK2 slot nut. We don't fix it completely. We keep it a little bit loose so that we can easily now connect with the climber in this
node.
In this node to directly connect the fixed bro set with the climber, and then we tighten on the one side here.
You use a 19 spanner to fix the screw.
Exactly, and then we also, of course, tighten in the end the fixed bro set as well, so that we have here a strong connection. And also here you can see we have now enough space for the water flow to have
so
here.
Also for the base rail here, so the water can freely flow.
Exactly, and in this way, based on how also the project plan looks like, we connect then throughout the building all the different Sika roof anchors with the fixed bro set. Then the module will be installed on top of the SD and peak combined with the clamps. They are universal and cover typically the 30 and 30. The main module types are typically 30 and 35 millimeter height, which are then directly connected here and in module orientation landscape installed. Now we remove this shortly.
Maybe I just add, this solar hybrid system can be fully designed in the K2 base tool.
Exactly.
The whole system here.
The whole system here.
Whereas then the lifted system will be somehow integrated next year into the base system.
That will be integrated, and currently if you have projects in that in between, then of course please feel free to send those projects towards K2 and we are going to install it and plan it for you, of course. So now we remove this system and continue now with the SingleRail IFP solution. So in this case we also continue with the levelizing set, which needs to be here also installed. So now we have the flexibility to react on the different heights or unevenness on the roof if required. So we can adjust that we are on a similar height and then can fix also on top of this with the same principle with the climber again to the single rail. We can slide in the climber next to it and then tighten the screw, adjust where it's necessary also depending on the potential unevenness on the building, also those. Of course, we have even more space in between, so the water flow is perfectly arranged. And now we can, depending on the pitch of the roof, continue. When we have the solution from 5 to 10 degrees, then we are talking about the Dome 6 lifted LS, respective the solar lifted peak solution. So we are installing in that case on top of the SingleRail, again with our MK2 slot nut, which is just slided in 90 degrees like this. We install then the peak and the SD, also by turning in clockwise. There's a T-shaped bottom side where you also can see a number, which is in this case 10. 10 stands for the inclination, 10 degrees. We also have this possibility to have 15 degrees. And this is slided in, and with the hole in the back, we fix directly to the MK2 slot nut with an 8x20 screw and enable in this way to have for those light or just roofs with a low slope up to 10 degrees, an additional inclination for the modules of 10 degrees by also fixing with those clamps here in the peak, respective, from this side it's easier, the module on top, which I can show you also in this way. So the module will be between on the SD and the peak installed in this direction. And now we come to the third version, where we have a 10 to 35 degrees inclination. So there, of course, we can directly install with the clamps, either with the middle clamp, with the middle clamp, and of course also the end clamp, the module in roof parallel directly on the SingleRail.
So there is also no somehow point with a fastener which would disturb the system.
Exactly.
So
there's
it's completely
enough
on the rail here, connected together.
And by this, we can cover all the different roofs, or all the different pitches on the roof from 0 up to 35 degrees. So you're completely flexible for all these roof applications.
So this is the so-called solar lifted parallel, so it always follows the roof slope.
Exactly. Respective in K2 words, it's the K2 SingleRail IFP. So now, with that combination, we have seen all the different ways how the system can be installed. And I think we need to parallel check again for the questions that have appeared in the meantime, right? So I'm just walking back to this other screen so that we can have a look to the questions which have been there. Could you please elaborate on the guarantee offered by Sika respective K2 systems for this solution? Well, in this combined solution, the guarantees of K2 apply, of course.
Yeah, the same for Sika then. So if your roof, let's say roof membrane is already 5 years old or 4 years old, so the system guarantee or the guarantee continues. If you have a 15 years guarantee, then the guarantee continues until you reach this 15 years. So it's not affected by this system.
Also with K2 in standard, we have the 12 years warranty and guarantee. And if you, this can be also extended to 20 years by using the K2 Docu app for having the warranty, the guarantee extension to 20 years. The next question is, it would be useful to import CAD files of the roofs on K2 base to design roofs faster. That's true. I can show you one part, what is possible. We have already the possibility to either to export AutoCAD files, which is not what you were talking about, but this is on the one side working. Plus, we can right now import image files to already, especially when buildings are not yet built, to already have a closer and more realistic planning possibility. We are still working on the opportunity also to get AutoCAD files imported. The next question is
shear force and pull out.
In K2 base, when we choose the SikaRoof Anchor, the system provides shear and pull-out values. These values are validated by Sika.
Yes. So the shear force we have tested at an external test laboratory, and the pull-out force is actually given by the fasteners, which are ETAG 006, let's say, certified.
The next question is: do you require a protection layer from the K2 rubber, respective you mean the MED-S, feed to the Sika single ply membrane? This is especially happening when we have roofs up to 5 degrees, where we directly place the dome solution, respective the solar hybrid system, on top of the roof. There we don't need an additional layer.
No, because the system is always fixed with the roof anchor, so it cannot move then, so there is no additional protection layer needed.
Coming to the next question, for the one-side system simulation, should we base it on the maximum wind speed or the average wind speed, and why? What do the standards say about this? I need to repeat the question. Huh? For the one-side system, for the if we would plan the S-dome solution, whether well, in K2 base, the planning of the solutions independently, whether it's an east-west or a south-facing solution, we automatically the software plans and calculates based on the Eurocode and the particular national appendix in the related country, which means, in essence, I can show you this as well. When we choose here, instead of a D-dome solution, a S-dome solution, we of course will see changes in the layout on the one side, plus of course we will also have a different number of anchoring respective ballast that needs to be placed on the roof. And this is, our systems are tested in wind tunnel and aerodynamic design, so these are according to these higher wind loads that appear. We also have a backsheet and a windbreaker, so-called, to be capable to handle the wind forces in the proper way. So that was this question. Then we have, can we freely add additional anchoring points? In general, yes, of course.
Yes. Yeah, we are keen to sell roof anchors.
That would depend. I mean, in the software itself, it gives you the required quantity. So if you want to add them, they are not shown like on the planning of the report. Yeah, but of course you can add additional anchoring points. And then the further question is, for roof slopes below 5 degrees, is it possible to use the parallel single rail system, or are we required to use the 10-degree tilt of the Dome 6? Which system should be used if we have a 3-degree slope and want to follow the roof inclination? That's two mixed questions, maybe. So on the one side, yes, of course, you can also install the SingleRail IFP, respective the solar lifted parallel system on top of a up to 5 degrees roof. You have to consider the fact that, of course, with up to 5 degrees roof inclination, if you go roof parallel with the modules, the energy production of the modules are limited to this inclination.
Unless you are near the equator, then it didn't make sense.
Absolutely. Yes. But this is technically possible, and you can also combine it with the dome lifted LS, with the solar peak lifted peak solution, where we add the peak and SD components of the classical dome system to have a 10 degrees additional inclination. The second question in this was, which system should be used if we have a 3-degree slope and want to follow the roof inclination? Well, also there, you can go with the SingleRail IFP, respective solar solar lifted parallel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is often done in Southeast Asia near the equator.
The next question that we have is it possible to use Sika bitumen anchor with a bitumen of another manufacturer?
This is basically possible, technically possible then, but of course then we actually the applicator is responsible for the workmanship and for the quality of the torch or hot air welding then. So we can of course not guarantee our anchor on another product outside Sika then, but technically possible. And I think it's also often done in real.
As we are talking about the bitumen roof, if I remember correctly, then you have the single ply typically as a 1-layer, and the bitumen is typically as a 2-layer.
It's always a 2-layer system, except in the Nordic country they have a 1-layer bitumen system, but then they use a thicker membrane then.
Okay, but how do you solve that topic with this with the anchoring?
Also, with the anchoring, so now we have here also this 2-layer system, and then with our roof anchor, so we continue also on top of the cap sheet. Then we continue with the 2-layer roof anchor system, bituminous system. As we already told before, we have outside 400 millimeter and inside the first layer with 300 millimeter. So we continue with the 2-layer system on the cap sheet here.
Thank you for giving that more detailed explanation. So I think we covered all the current open questions. If you still have questions open, then just feel free to raise your hand or put additional questions to the Q&A section. We are happy to answer open questions either now or also afterwards. If you have projects coming up where you need some support, where we can provide you the calculation of the system, as mentioned, feel free to reach out to either your direct contact person at K2 or also to service@k2-systems.de, our general email address, respective also to Sika. And there to your direct contact person, so that we can give you the full support to determine on the one side what is the right solution depending on the structure of the roof, and how to combine it with the right solution on top for the mounting of the PV modules. Now we have another question. How many megawatts worldwide have been installed with this solution so far? That's a very good question and not easy always to answer. We already realized several projects in different countries. The megawatt numbers I don't know currently.
No, we don't know. We just know actually the quantity of anchors we have sold. But it's, I would say this year, and we had started last year, so roughly we have sold 100,000 roof anchors already, but I don't know how many what it would be at the end of the day.
So this could be roughly calculated.
If you have this hybrid system, maybe you can calculate, but we also had this lifted system. So, but somehow, as a rule of thumb, maybe we can give you a number.
Well, if we take the average that we have every 8 to 12 square meters already one anchoring
5 panels,
then we talk about
460 watts.
Yeah, then we have around with this 5 panels exactly, and then we calculate with, then it should be around 200 megawatts.
And this is compared to a power station, nuclear power station.
A nuclear power plant typically has a production capacity of 1 gigawatt, so it would be one fifth currently of
1/5 of a nuclear power station.
Exactly. But it's well approved in different countries, and of course also in the testing laboratory of K2 and Sika. And we brought this solution, and we are, I think, pretty happy to have such a strong partnership and solution to have strong and long-lasting installations possibly realized. Yeah. So I think if there are no additional questions coming up right now, then and as mentioned, always feel free to also later on come back to us. Then we want to thank you.
Just contact us if you have questions.
Feel
And it
free.
was cool to have you here.
Thank you very much for joining. Have a successful rest of the day and of the week. We are looking forward to being in a regular and close communication. Take care and see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.